We all have regrets in life. A moment that we wish we could go back and change. A moment that if we could change, we know it would forever alter our current place in life. We'd be on a completely different path and we'd probably be in a completely different place. But there is one moment in my life that I absolutely don't regret. And that's the day that I didn't get my dream job. As I've mentioned before, I used to work at an Apple store. I was there for 16 years, and for the first 13 years, I genuinely liked my job. But after doing anything for 13 years, you sometimes get to be a little bored with it, and I was doing the same thing all the time. So I wanted to grow, I wanted to do other things, and new job opportunities came along, but they honestly just weren't the right fit for me. Until one day, the right fit did come along. So finally, after 13 years, the right job for me comes along. It was a job that I genuinely just like to do. It's something that I knew I could grow with and do long term. Now, obviously other people were applying for this job too, but I was not the only one who thought I was a perfect candidate for this job. I had several coworkers, even management, even our own leadership team came up to me and said, "We really hope you're applying for this job because it seems like it's a perfect fit for you." So not only was I thinking this was a perfect role for me at that moment in time, but it seemed like everyone around me also saw the same thing. So I apply for the job, the interview comes around, I walk out of that interview thinking, I nailed it. I've absolutely got this job, there's no question about it. The next day, my manager comes up to me, the one who did the interview, and he tells me, he says, "Hey, you know what? We thought you were a good candidate for this, but it turns out we heard some things from the other interviews that we just like better, and we're not gonna move forward with you on the next interview process. So I'm sorry, but you didn't get the job." And I gotta tell you, I was really upset because again, I just really thought that everything about this role was perfect for me. And it already took a situation where I was already pretty upset at my job because of things that have been starting to lead up to that point. But this was the tipping point for me. Not getting this job really felt like a slap in the face ultimately to me. I felt like I didn't want to pursue my career path with the company anymore. Now, mind you, at this time in my life, I was still thinking about traveling for a year, but I didn't actually think I'd be able to pull it off until this moment. When I didn't get that job at Apple, that was a deciding moment for me. That was the push that told me this is the right time in your life to go ahead and quit your job and travel. Because I didn't like the job I was doing and I didn't get the job I really wanted. My apartment lease was coming up for renewal and I didn't want to stay in Tampa anymore. So it just kind of felt like everything was stacking up in my favor to go ahead and quit and travel the country. So that's what I did. I left and I traveled the country for a year. But had I actually gotten that job I wanted, that means I wouldn't have quit. That means that I would have stayed there. I would have continued working there. And honestly, even today, 3 years later, I probably would still doing that job. Maybe I'd like it, I don't know. But I know that I wouldn't have gone ahead and pursued my dreams of traveling around the country. It wouldn't have been that push that I needed to get out there and explore and feel like I'm not going to regret the things that I didn't get the chance to do. I don't want to ever look back at my life and go, well, what if? What if I could have quit my job? What if I could have traveled for a year? Now I know. Now I know that I was able to do exactly what I wanted to do. But it was getting that job that really pushed me into that edge. And at the time, I didn't think that was a blessing. I thought it was a curse. I really, really wanted that job. And when I didn't get it, I was mad. I was salty. I was angry about it. And to be honest, sometimes I look back on that moment and I still get a little bit mad because I really, really wanted that job. And even though I left one of the largest corporations in the world, and since then, I've been on the struggle bus so many times with different jobs and living paycheck to paycheck. Heck, I even started a company that was a complete failure. But I still do not regret not getting my dream job. that dream job, or so I thought it was at the time, ended up being the biggest push I could ever have in life. That one push told me that I should go on a different path in life. If they had given me the job, I'd still be there to this day probably. But I am so glad that I didn't get that job, because it really led me to escaping normal life and following my dreams. So to end on a philosophical note, don't go through life with regrets. Life's not always going to go the way you want it. 3 years ago, I was supposed to be on a completely different path. I thought I was destined to be working at Apple the rest of my life, but I am so glad that I didn't get that job. I was mad about it at the time, but I am so glad I didn't, because it allowed me to pursue my dreams. It allowed me to escape normal life, and I don't regret that. So I'm really glad it happened. No regrets, not even one letter.
That's my credo, no regrets.
Like not even a single letter?
No way, not me.
See you on the next one.